Holy smokes, das ist absolutely dog shit crazy. Ja. Ich weiß ganz selber nicht, was ich davon halten sollte. Es ist mir klar geworden. Und es macht mich uncomfortable. Ja. Ich weiß, es wird eh nie schauen, deshalb kann ich es jetzt einfach sagen. She's texting other guys, and I know it, and I have been knowing it. That's why my feeling deep down was so uncomfortable. Yeah, and every girl does it, so either you have to do it too, or yeah, bruv, I don't know, to be honest. Or you keep locking in, and you trust God, you trust the Lord, that the time will come where He'll give you one of His daughters. And I'm so sure of that. I have so deep trust in the Lord. Shit. No. I can't keep the window open and have the lights on. That won't work. Because it's 3:30 a.m. now. Yeah, so number one, she's texting other guys. Number two, I found some real shit people, bro. Like, people that actually know their shit. That do like 100% in a year. And you think cool because you did 20%? Bro, holy shit. Like, holy fucking shit, bro. Think bigger. Make more money. And like, the more time I spend thinking, I'm like, wow. Well, what if, I don't know, but what if I can hit double my magic number till the end of this year, end of 2026, if I really lock in, and I know it is possible, and they know the only person holding myself back is me. So, get back out, go back to the streets, put the effort in, work your ass off, and yeah, we shall see. In the meantime, I do my Bible study and go back to sleep. So today is officially already the 11th, but I do the 10th of April evening session. And I'll continue with 1 Chronicles 27-25, Officials of David's Kingdom. Azmaveth, son of Adiel, was in charge of the palace treasuries. Jonathan, son of Uzziah, was in charge of the regional treasuries throughout the towns, villages, and fortresses of Israel. Itzri, son of Kilo, was in charge of the field workers who farmed the king's lands. Shimei from Ramah was in charge of the king's vineyards. Zibdi from Shepham was responsible for the grapes and the supplies of wine. Baal-Hanan from Geder was in charge of the king's olive groves and the sycamore fig trees in the foothills of Judah. Joash was responsible for the supplies of olive oil. One more thing I wanted to mention, social media fucks my brain. Now that I've been scrolling Twitter for 2 hours, like, I can't fucking focus after 5 sentences. What the fuck? Baal-Hanan of Geder was in charge of the king's olive groves and sycamore fig trees in the foothills of Judah. Joash was responsible for the supplies of olive oil. Shittai from Sharon was in charge of the cattle on the Sharon plain. Shaphat, son of Adlai, was responsible for the cattle in the valleys. Obil, the Ishmaelite, was in charge of the camels. Jedaiah from Meronoth was in charge of the donkeys. Jaziz, the Haggard, was in charge of the king's flocks of sheep and goats. All these officials were overseers of King David's property. Jonathan, David's uncle, was a wise counselor to the king, a man of great insight and a scribe. Jehiel, the Hakmonite, was responsible for teaching the king's sons. Ahithophel was the royal advisor. Hushai, the Archite, was the king's friend. Ahithophel was succeeded by Jehoiada, son of Benaiah, and by Abiathar. Joab was commander of the king's army. 1 Chronicles 38. David's instructions to Solomon. David summoned all the officials of Israel to Jerusalem, the leaders of the tribes, the commanders of the army divisions, the other generals and captains, the overseers of the royal property and livestock, the palace officials, the mighty men, and all the other brave warriors in the kingdom. David rose to his feet and said, "My brothers and my people, it was my desire to build a temple where the ark of the Lord's covenant, God's footstool, could rest permanently. I made necessary preparations for building it. But God said to me, 'You must not build a temple to honor my name, for you are a warrior, and you have shed much blood. Yet the Lord, the God of Israel, has chosen me from among all my father's family to be king over Israel forever. For he has chosen the tribe of Judah to rule, and from among the families of Judah he chose my father's family. And from among my father's sons the Lord was pleased to make me king over all Israel. And from among my sons, for the Lord has given me many, he chose Solomon to succeed me on the throne of Israel, to rule over the Lord's kingdom. He said to me, Your son Solomon will build my temple and its courtyards, for I have chosen him as my son, and I will be his father. And if he continues to obey my commands and regulations, as he does now, I will make his kingdom last forever. So now, my God, as our witness, and in the sight of all Israel, the Lord's assembly, I give you this charge. Be careful to obey all the commands of the Lord your God, so that you may continue to possess this good land and leave it to your children as a permanent inheritance. And Solomon, my son, learn to know the God of your ancestors intimately. Worship and serve him with your whole heart and with a willing mind, for the Lord sees every heart and knows every plan and thought. If you seek him, you will find him. The more I seek you, the more I find you. But if you forsake him, he will reject you forever. So take this seriously. The Lord has chosen you to build a temple as a sanctuary. Be strong and do the work. Be strong and do the fucking work. Then David gave Solomon the plans for the temple and its surroundings, including the entry room, the storerooms, upstairs rooms, the inner rooms, and the inner sanctuary, which was the place of atonement. David also gave Solomon all the plans he had made in mind for the courtyards of the Lord's temple, the outside rooms, the treasuries, and the rooms for the gifts dedicated to the Lord. The king also gave Solomon the instructions concerning the work of the various divisions of priests and Levites in the temple of the Lord. And he gave specifications for the items of the temple that were to be used for worship. David gave instructions regarding how much gold and silver should be used to make the items needed for service. He told Solomon the amount of gold needed for the gold lampstands and lamps, and the amount of silver for the silver lampstands and lamps, depending on how each would be used. He designed the amount of gold for the table on which the bread of the presence would be placed, and the amount of silver for the other tables. David also designed the amount of gold for the solid gold meat hooks used to handle the sacrificial meat for the basins, pitchers, and the dishes, as well as the amount of silver for every dish. He designed the amount of refined gold for the altar of incense. Finally, he gave him a plan for the Lord's chariot, a gold cherubim, whose wings were stretched out over the ark of the Lord's covenant. Each part of his plan, David told Solomon, was given to me in writing from the hand of the Lord. Then David continued, be strong and courageous, and do the work. Be strong and courageous, and do the work. Don't be afraid or discouraged. Finally, since like a century, I finally got some good shit out of it. 1 Chronicles 28:20. Then David continued, be strong and courageous and do the work. Don't be afraid or discouraged. For the Lord God, my God, is with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. He will see to it that all the work related to the temple of the Lord finish correctly. The various divisions of priests and Levites will serve in the temple of God. Others will, with skills of every kind, will volunteer, and the officials and the entire nation are at your command. 1 Chronicles 29, gifts for building the temple. Then King David turned to the entire assembly and said, my son Solomon, whom God has clearly chosen to be the next king of Israel, is still young and inexperienced. The work ahead of him is enormous, for the temple he will build is not for mere mortals. It is for the Lord God himself. Using every resource at my command, I've gathered as much as I could for the building of the temple of the Lord. Now there is enough gold, silver, bronze, iron, and wood, as well as great quantities of onyx, other precious stones, costly jewels, and all kinds of fine stones and marbles. And now, because of my devotion to the temple of the Lord, I'm giving all of my own private treasuries of gold and silver to help in the construction. This is in addition to the building materials I've already collected for his holy temple. I'm donating more than 112 tons of gold from Ophir and 262 tons of refined silver to be used for overlaying the walls of the building, and the other gold and silver work to be done by the craftsmen. Now then, who will follow my example and give offerings to the Lord today? Then the family leaders, the leaders of the tribes of Israel, the generals and the captains of his army, the king's administrative officers, all gave willingly for the construction of the temple of God. They gave about 188 tons of gold, 10,000 gold coins, 375 tons of silver, 625 tons of bronze, and 3,750 tons of iron. They also contributed numerous precious stones which were deposited in the treasury of the Lord, the house of the Lord, under the care of Jehiel, a descendant of Gershon. The people rejoiced over the offerings, for they had given freely and wholeheartedly. The people rejoiced over the offerings for the Lord, for they had given freely and wholeheartedly to the Lord. King David was filled with joy. David's prayer of praise. Then David praised the Lord in the presence of the whole assembly. O Lord, the God of our ancestors Israel, may you be praised forever and ever. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness, the power, the glory, the victory, and the majesty. Everything in the heavens and on earth is yours, O Lord, and this is your kingdom. We adore you as the one who is over all things. Wealth, honor, and comes from you alone, for you rule over everything. Power and might are in your hand, and at your discretion people are made great and given strength. O our God, we thank you and praise your glorious name. But who am I, and who are my people, that we could give anything to you? Everything we have has come from you, and we give you only what you first gave us. We are here only for a moment, visitors and strangers to the land, as our ancestors were before us. Our days on the earth are passing like a shadow, gone so soon without a trace. O Lord our God, even this material we gathered to the temple. We have gathered to build a temple, to honor your holy name, comes from you, all belongs to you. I know, my God, that you examine our hearts and rejoice when you find integrity there. I know I've done all this with good motives, and I've watched your people offer their gifts willingly and joyously. O Lord, the God of our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, may your people always want to obey you. See to it that their love for you never changes. Give my son Solomon the wholehearted desire to obey all your commands, laws, decrees, and to do everything necessary to build this temple for which I've made these preparations. Then David said to the whole assembly, give praise to the Lord your God. And the entire assembly praised the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and they bowed low and knelt before the Lord and the king, Solomon named as king. The next day they brought 1,000 bulls and 1,000 rams and 1,000 male lambs as burnt offerings to the Lord. They also brought liquid offerings and many other sacrifices on behalf of all Israel. They feasted and drank in the Lord's presence with great joy that day. And again they crowned David's son Solomon as their new king. They anointed him before the Lord as their leaders, and they anointed Zadok as priest. So Solomon took the throne of the Lord in place of his father David, and he succeeded in everything, and all Israel obeyed him. All the officials, warriors, and the sons of King David pledged their loyalty to King Solomon, and the Lord exalted Solomon in the sight of all Israel, and he gave Solomon greater royal splendor than any king in Israel before him. Summary of King David's reign. So David, son of Jesse, reigned over all Israel. He reigned over Israel for 40 years, and 7 of them in Hebron, and 33 in Jerusalem. He died at a ripe old age, having enjoyed a long life, wealth, honor, and then his son Solomon ruled in his place. All the events of King David's reign, from beginning to end, are written in the record of Samuel the seer, the record of Nathan the prophet, and the record of God the seer. These accounts include the mighty deeds of his reign and everything that happened to him and to Israel, and to Israel and all the surrounding kingdoms. Holy shit, look in 2 Chronicles. Solomon asks for wisdom. This is the part, you all know it. Holy shit, I'm almost there. Oh, I'm almost there at Proverbs and Psalms, but after that there's Jeremiah, Zephaniah, like of the Old Testament, Malachi, yeah. Anyways, 2 Chronicles, Solomon asked for wisdom. Solomon, son of David, took firm control of his kingdom, for the Lord his God was with him and made him very powerful. Solomon called together all the leaders of Israel, the generals and the captains of the army, the judges and all the political and clan leaders. And they led the entire assembly to the place of worship in Gibeon, for God's tabernacle was located there. This was the tabernacle that Moses, the Lord's servant, had made in the wilderness. David had already moved the ark of God from Kiriath Jearim to the tent he had prepared for it in Jerusalem. But the bronze altar made at Bezalel, son of Uri and grandson of Hur, was there, at Gibeon in front of the tabernacle of the Lord. So Solomon and the people gathered in front of it to consult the Lord. There in front of the tabernacle, Solomon went up to the bronze altar in the Lord's presence and sacrificed 1,000 burnt offerings on it. That night God appeared to Solomon and said, "What do you want? Ask and I will give it to you." Solomon replied to God, "You showed great and faithful love to David, my father, and now you have made me king in his place. O Lord God, please continue to keep your promise to David, my father, for you have made me king over a people as numerous as the dust in the earth. Give me the wisdom and knowledge to lead them properly. For who could possibly govern this great people of yours? God said to Solomon, because your greatest desire is to help your people, and you did not ask for wealth, riches, fame, or even the death of your enemies, or a long life, but rather you asked for wisdom and knowledge for properly govern my people. I will certainly give you the wisdom and knowledge you request. But I will also give you wealth, riches, and fame, such as no other king has had before you, or will ever have in the future. And Solomon returned to Jerusalem from the tabernacle, the place of worship in Gibeon, and he reigned over Israel. Solomon built up a huge force of chariots and horses. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horses. He stationed some of them in the chariot cities and some near him in Jerusalem. The king made silver and gold as plentiful in Jerusalem as stone, and valuable cedar timber as was as common as the sycamore fig trees that grow in the foothills of Judah. Solomon's horses were imported from Egypt and from Sicilia. The king's traders acquired them from Sicilia at the standard price. At that time, chariots from Egypt could be purchased for 600 pieces of silver, and horses for 150 pieces of silver, and were then exported to the kings of the Hittites and the king of Aram. 2 Chronicles 2. Solomon decides to build a temple to honor the name of the Lord, and also a royal palace for himself. He enlisted a force of 70,000 laborers, 80,000 men to quarry stone in the hill country, and 3,604 men. Solomon also sent this message to King Hiram-Etireh: send me cedar logs as you did for my father David when he was building his palace. I'm about to build a temple to honor the name of the Lord my God. It will be set apart to burn fragrant incense before him, to display the special sacrificial bread, and to sacrifice burnt offerings each morning and evening, on the Sabbath, at new moon celebrations, and any other appointed festivals of the Lord our God. He has commanded Israel to do these things forever. This must be a magnificent temple, because our God is greater than all the other gods. But who can really build him a worthy home? Not even the highest heavens can contain him. So who am I to consider building a temple for him except as a place to burn sacrifices to him? So he sent a master craftsman who can work with gold, silver, and bronze and iron, as well as with purple, scarlet, and blue cloth. He must be a skilled engraver who can work with craftsmen of Judah and Jerusalem, who were selected by my father David. Also send me cedar, cypress, and red sandalwood logs from Lebanon, for I know that your men are without equal at cutting timber in Lebanon. I will send my men to help them. An immense amount of timber will be needed, for the temple I'm going to build will be very large and magnificent. In payment for your woodcutters, I will send 100,000 bushels of crushed wheat, 100,000 bushels of barley, and 110,000 gallons of wine, and 110 gallons of olive oil. Nice. Now, maybe finish my summary with Cloud and hope I fucking lock in.